I like turning big bowls. That's what I do most of the time. And this week is a different project. It's anything but large. It's a very small piece, but I've got to tell you, it's probably one of the most beautiful pieces of wood that I've ever turned, at least in my top three. This is not something I usually do on my channel. Although I say that so often, I don't know if there is a usual. Uh, this is a cherry burl. I love cherry burls. It's got a lot of character, but it's small. I mean, it can fit in the palm of my hand. But I don't want to throw it away, so I'm going to do a project with it. I think I'll turn it between centers, get it roundish. It's probably going to be a vase sort of shape, maybe a teardrop vase. Let's get it on the let's get it on the lathe and start turning it around and see what we've got. Again, being a cherry burl, I don't want to throw it away. It does have a bad crack right there, which is unfortunate because it's down at the base. It's got a couple actually, but I think we'll be all right. I'm not worried about it structurally. It's small. There's not going to be much centrifugal force because of the light weight on it. But let's get started and see what we can deal with. There, I played with it a little bit in mounting it. See, I'm way in here, so that's, which is going to be about there. That's probably good. I ended up moving it way off center here, which means I'll lose this. But I wanted to do that, otherwise I would lose this lump over here, which is where the character is going to be. So I think we're in good shape there. I don't have a real good hold up top there, so I'm going to make sure this is good and tight. And let's see what we're dealing with. So here I am turning it between centers. That means that I'm just pushing with my tailstock up against my spur drive that's on the drive side. And that's why occasionally you'll see it'll stop or slip a little bit because there's not a lot holding it and keeping it turning. Now if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see that this piece is attached with a glue block. And I've shown this a few times on my channel where I use hot melt glue and I've glued it on to a scrap block of wood. This gives you the best method of holding any workpiece that you can. It's starting to get rounded up, and you can start to see the final shape starting to take shape.
Still a little punkiness right here. I think I'm going to take it down just a bit more to get rid of that. It won't be much.
So now I'm starting to fine tune the final shape and removing some of these lines that you see, getting ready to sand.
I don't like the shape as well, unfortunately, because this is the thickest part. I like it down here a little more. But I don't want to get rid of too much either. I'm just going to play with it a little bit more.
You'll notice here that I'm actually using my bowl gouge. I'm pulling it, and the gouge is turned over on its side. So it's actually working like a scraper, and that gives you probably the best surface that you can get.
That's a better looking shape. I like that. I like that. Gonna leave that. That's probably gonna be a hole, maybe. Definitely be a hole there. Still not sure about this crack yet. I don't really want to put epoxy in it, just because it's one of these natural looking pieces, but we'll see. So there we go. The outside is shaped. It's a beautiful piece of wood. It's got a lot of Burl eyes in it, those black dots. Cherry never fails. Beautiful, beautiful piece of wood. And I got it round. If you remember, it had that weird tapered cut on one side, so it's the shape it is to get rid of that. I do have a nasty crack running all the way from the base right to the rim. Still not sure 100% what I'm going to do with that. There was some bunkiness down here. I pretty well got rid of that. Yeah, it's going to be ready to start hollowing. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a very big opening, but we're going to do it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of wood. So here I am sanding. I had a really good surface. Cherry, especially a Burl, gives you a nice smooth surface even off the tool. Probably better than most wood. And I'm able to start with a fairly high grit right off the beginning. But I still will follow my normal pattern and go up to about 600 grit. I said I was going to go to 600 grit. I actually only went up to 180 and then applied some sanding sealer, which I'm doing here. And that's starting to bring out the color and really emphasize the Burl pattern. It's a beautiful piece of wood, like I mentioned earlier. Once this sanding sealer dries, then I'll go ahead and finish sanding the rest of the way up to 600 grit. So the opening here is not very large, so I am drilling it out, which just makes it a little bit easier because this wood is very hard. It's dry and the burl is very hard. So I'm just going to drill it out and make my job a little bit easier. And you can see, yes, it's starting to smoke. Okay, I've drilled this deep. That's as far as my bit will go. I don't have an extension for that. It's hard. This burl is very, very dense and it's very, very dry. Makes for a hard cutting. I could drill a bigger hole, but that means I'm going to have to lose some of this neck. I'd have to come down here, and I really don't want to because I find that's very interesting to the shape. So I'm just going to work this hole. I might switch to carbide, see how I make out there, but yeah, it's very, very hard. Even drilling it was difficult. I might see what I have for an extension as well, or even just chuck the bit out a little further. It gave me a little tiny bit, but we'll go from there and see how we make out. This vase is not very deep. It's only a total of 6 inches high, so I can just use standard tools to hollow it out. And you'll notice, because the piece is light, I also am not using my steady rest, but rather just relying on that glue block and standard tools to hollow it out. I'm really happy with the shape. The outside's great. I'm working the inside, and I've spent an hour. Unfortunately, you can't see, but I've spent an hour working on the inside. Not hollowing it out. It hollowed out pretty quickly. I drilled a hole down the center, and then I used my spindle gouge, actually, which I don't usually use inside a hollow vessel, but it actually worked fairly well. But I've just spent the last
half an hour or more just going in, cleaning it out, looking at it, just trying to get the inside smooth. It's beyond what I can feel, but it's not beyond what I can see. So I want to keep it clean. So I just marked my carbide scraper. So when I know this is a spot right now that I have to address, this deep into there, there's a ridge. And if I can get rid of that, then I'm in pretty good shape. So I put a mark on there so I know where I'm at, so I can concentrate on that area. And it'll just be a matter of going in, work it a little bit, take it out, blow it out, take a look, and rinse and repeat. As I mentioned, I have a ridge inside. So these marks that you see on my carbide tool are just a reference for me, so I know the area that I need to work in. The other thing you should notice is that I'm working on the opposite side. My lathe can turn in reverse, so I'm spinning in reverse, which allows me to work the opposite side of the vase. It just gives me a little more room to move. Well, I made a discovery. I did some scraping with that carbide tool, but I've changed my belt speed. I've got a dual speed lathe, and I can change the belts. I was turning at around 800 RPM, and that's typically as fast as I ever go. On a bowl, you'd never go that any faster than that. This being a small enclosed vessel of small diameter, I actually went to high speed, and I'm up to 2400 RPM, and I'm getting a lot less vibration with my scraper, and it's actually giving me a much smoother surface. You remember I had a crack running up the side of this. I filled it. What I've done is, I've done it a couple times, but I fill it with a little bit of CA glue. I just drop it in there. And then I put some shavings, some sawdust over top of that, and then I sand it. So I just pick up shavings off dust that I have here, put it on there, rub it in. And then while the glue is still wet, I sand it. So when you're filling cracks, you can go two directions. You can go high contrast, black, coffee, epoxy, or you can use sawdust, which gives it a more natural look. So that's what I've done. You can still see it. It doesn't hide it, but it looks a little more natural, I think. So here I have a dowel, which I just cut a slot in to hold some sandpaper that's folded over, and that allows me to reach inside. This opening is way too small to get anything else inside of there. I've shown this before, and I'll put a link to this, but this is my homemade abrasive paste. Watch as I apply this. Excuse my head there, but watch as I apply this. This will actually darken the wood up just because of the mineral oil that's in this abrasive paste, and really brings out the color in the vase itself. So I typically apply it, rub it in a bit without the lathe turning, and then turn it on and rub it off. So because this is an abrasive paste, you want to rub it on and off. You do not want to leave any of this behind, and it does have the effect of wet sanding up to 1000. You can really see the beauty of this wood now. Now I'm just getting ready to part it off. So I'm just using a parting tool and just going in just at that transition point where the glue line is at the bottom of the vase itself. And here's the finished product. I'm really pleased with the way it turned out. I do have a little more sanding to do, which I'll do by hand right up near the top of the rim, but I can do that off the lathe.
So let me explain what I have here. I've mounted a block in here which I've tapered, which will fit inside there. Now that rim is thin, so I've got to be careful. This is not a lot of pressure from my tailstock because I don't want to break that out. And I'm going to make light cuts, but I'm going to remove what's remaining here in the tenon, and I may just put a little groove on here just to make it a little decorative, but it's going to be light. It's pretty balanced. It's pretty balanced, so that's good. Maybe it's not perfect, but for what I'm doing, it's fine. If I was working this, it wouldn't be, but going across the bottom, it's okay. So like I said, everything at this point is going to be light because I don't want to knock it off. I don't want to break that. I may put some tape on that just to reinforce it and just to prevent it from breaking out.
So you can see here, I did put some duct tape up near the rim, and that just helps support it so there's no pressure on that. Again, I do not want to break that rim, and it is fairly thin.
Now I've shown this on my channel before when I go to burn lines. Some people use a wire. I don't like a wire. I prefer Formica. You can get them at Home Depot or any box store, hardware store. They're samples, they're free. I grab a black one. Don't think it matters, but I do. And I can hold that in the groove and it'll burn. It'll burn quite well. This type of a burn in a circle, there's no way you could do that with a wire, not on a flat surface like this. So you just hold it in there until it starts to smoke. There we go.
So here's the finished product. Again, it's anything but large. It's only 6 inches tall and 3.5 inches in diameter. But look at the beautiful, beautiful pattern here. It's a burl, full of burl eyes with a very unique opening as well. And that opening is only 1.25 inches. So it did make for a bit of a challenge to work through it. I gotta tell you, again, this is probably one of my favorite pieces of wood all time. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece. Look at the eyes here. Sorry for that. Look at the burl eyes. It's really outstanding. Let me know what you think of this piece and if this is something that you'd like to have sitting on your table.